Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lax rats alike, welcome back to the Crease Dive. Today is Friday, February 3rd. The 2023 college lacrosse season is here. Right upon us, we've got a full slate of games on tap for this weekend. I'm Jordie, and with me, as always, we've got Doogs back in the lab this year. Doogs, it was a pretty long off season, but we finally made it. College Lax is here. How you feeling, brother?
What do you mean off season?
Nah.
The Lax world never stops. It never sleeps. You got transfer portal, coaches retiring. You got the whole bunch. But we're back on the mics. It feels good. I feel like I've never been so underprepared for a college lacrosse season. It just snuck up on me.
Yeah, I feel like and this is it's almost the NBA-ification of college lacrosse. I feel like if where you get a lot of off-season drama, get a lot of player movement, get a lot of whispers around the league. Yeah, I mean it was a busy off season. A lot of guys wearing new uniforms this year. I'll tell you what, I am not that I was ever in any position where like I could transfer anywhere when I was playing lacrosse. Like no one would want me. Like they'd be
Speak for
like
yourself, but yeah.
yeah, but like I'm so jealous though of all these kids who get to go to school for a few years, meet a lot of really great friends, and then they get to go into the transfer portal, go to a new school, and then get so much more sick gear. Because like the day's gonna come where these guys are done playing lacrosse, like they're done playing in college, they're old, they're washed up like us. They got maybe they're going to the gym just to try to avoid getting put blast on TikTok with their eyes wandering around, but they want to wear some merch. They want to wear some gear to the gym. And now they've got an entire closet full of their different schools that they attended. So these kids who are hitting up the transfer portal are a bunch of gear hounds, and I love it.
That's actually a great point that I haven't thought about. Think about the opportunities for business these guys get with the NIL. You're talking sideline swap right now. Sideline swap should reach out to some of these players that are in the transfer portal, these fifth years, sixth years. Be like, hey, come sell some of that merch that you don't wear anymore. Make a little profit, a little bang for your buck. That's a very good point. I would probably transfer, by the way, if I was in college and I was good at lacrosse and I could, shoot on the run with both my hands and get just like offered anywhere. I'd probably go to 3 different schools. Start off like 2 years at Maryland, win back-to-back national championships. Go to Virginia, then just play with Schellenberger, and then for my 5th year, just go to Jacksonville or like Tampa.
Yeah, I mean TD did it. He so TD was the original gear hound. But yeah, I mean, like you just think about some of these guys and how easy it is to move around in different schools, and like imagine trying to think right now, like Tucker Dordevik's got it pretty good right now. I mean, he's got a ton of Syracuse gear in the closet, and then now he gets to go. I personally think that Georgetown has some of the best gear out there. I think that they've got some real classic colors that'll never really go out of style, right? You're not going to be a 30-year-old washed up dude at the gym wearing Georgetown colors, and people would be like, what the fuck you doing? Unlike if you were trying to go and showing up in like the when Syracuse was rocking the Volt color. Like you can't.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Once you go past 25, which is like a sophomore at Maryland, you can't be wearing Volt colors, and orange is even a little hard to pull off at that point. But yeah, big time for gear sluts for sure.
Yeah, I'm more of the guy that like I like to get gear from Ivy Leagues. So like when you go for like a little neighborhood jog and you're wearing a Harvard lacrosse shirt and you get like a look from the guy at the gym, you're like, oh shit, like that guy, like that's people aren't like they probably can't recognize me, guys. I've been working out for 2 weeks now. I might look jacked and hashtag skinny, but one of the funniest things at the gym is when I'm wearing like a Duke or a Notre Dame lacrosse shirt, and I see someone that's like just jacked, lifting way more than me, like clearly playing, like they have like Michigan football and they clearly probably played there. And then they just see me in my like Duke lacrosse sweatshirt. Like, dude, that kid does not look like he played Division I sports. Like the looks you get when you wear this gear is hilarious.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were a coach's son, high IQ player out there, just making all the right decisions. Kind of guy coach loves to recruit. You're not going to make mistakes. You might not make the big plays, but you're not going to make mistakes.
Yeah, like the guy sees me with the Duke lacrosse shirt one day, and then I come back with like a Dayton Club lacrosse shirt the next day. He's like, ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Besides the fact that these guys are all, just lining up their closets and their sideline swap accounts, it was though realistic, like a big time off season for college lacrosse. I mean, you said it before, like it is hard to keep up almost with everything that's going on. You look around and just how many guys are playing for new teams. A team like your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, like how they're
Huge.
going to look this year, where, not only do they have the Kavanaugh brothers back, but they have, they bring in Tevlin from Yale. They bring in Chris Fake from Yale. So, just kind of thinking about some of the offseason moves, like, which teams do you have any teams in mind, like aside from Notre Dame? And you can talk up Notre Dame all you want. We're going to be spending the next 4 months of you talking up Notre Dame. But any teams that are just like crushing the transfer portal, and do you think that all the transfer moves will pay off the way that they look like they should on paper too?
So I think obviously Notre Dame's transfer portal pulls from what they returned just last year, and then what they add. When you have Chris Fake, you have Tevlin, you probably have like some like Chaminade guys that come in and they're going to be like impact players right away. But I think what Notre Dame obviously brings to the table with the Kavanaughs, Entenmann, like I said, best goalie in the league, and then Chris Fake, he's been playing college lacrosse. He's becoming like that meme of those guys that just never leave college. I feel like he's been playing for legitimately a century. So just adding his veteran leadership behind there with Entenmann and stuff. And then they have Tevlin, who I think fits that system perfectly. But I think that the most interesting, two most interesting teams to me from the transfer portal, probably Virginia. And, you're talking about Ricky Meason, the Stanford. You talk about gear guy. He's got Stanford football captain, now going to Virginia to play fifth year. Just want to see, like, he used to be the former number one recruit. So, like, how much has the past few years not picking up a stick going to affect him? Is he just going to come onto the field and be the best athlete right away? So just like that's something to look out for. And they got the number one NL pick in Thomas McConvey from Vermont, who like I think could be probably like a Bertrand in a way.
Yeah, so I thought too, like, we're going to go into the season, we're going to hear a ton about Ricky Meason, and like when Virginia first got back to school this semester and they were first starting up practice, like Virginia Lacrosse, their social account knew exactly what they were doing, making sure that they were putting out footage of that guy, because it's what everyone's going to want to see. But I'm glad that you mentioned that McConvey pickup from Vermont, because I think like that's look at Ricky Meason probably going to be an absolute force on that field. Like regardless of when the last time he picked up a stick before this season was, one, it's not going to take him that long to break off the rust, and two, he's like a specimen, unlike anything else that's out there right now in college lacrosse. So like he's going to be a force, no doubt. But Thomas McConvey is going to be a guy where like you're playing in the tournament in May and you're like, dude, like how in the fuck are we supposed to stop Virginia when you're throwing Schellenberger at us, you're throwing Griffin shots at us, and oh yeah, now all of a sudden you have one of the best players in the country who was putting up great numbers at Vermont, and now he gets a chance to play deep into May.
And when you think about Ricky Meason coming back, right? Like I think a lot of comparisons right now. I expect to see her like the Chris Hogan when he came to play for the PLL, and people are like, well, like is he just kind of getting it because he used to be the number one recruit? Like, did he really earn the spot? Let me tell you something. First off, he was the number one recruit less than like 5 years ago. So all he really has to do, if he's a good enough athlete to play Stanford football and be a captain for a Pac-12 Power 5 football team, all he needs to do is know how to catch and throw the ball. That's all he needs. He needs one hand. Doesn't even need to go two. He just needs to be the best athlete on the field. He's going to be a short stick D-midi probably. And if he could fucking turn up the wheels and he shows that he like, this is why I'm the number one recruit in the fucking nation, and he rips on the run righty, like, yeah.
Well, dude, and like that's the thing where
Chris
Like
Hogan was
maybe,
never the number one recruit. Sorry to cut you off, but like he was never the number one
oh,
recruit.
yeah, but like what I was gonna say though about is like this might hurt lacrosse fans' feelings a little bit. But like even if Ricky Mizan was never the number one overall, like maybe if he just like played a little bit in high school, like there are those guys in the NFL where the dude on plays for the Broncos, like I forget his name. He's like a no lineman. Either way, he played in high school and then he gets drafted. Everyone's like, oh, certified lax guy. Um, never really that good at lacrosse, but like if he just picks up a stick and he's the biggest and baddest athlete on there, then yeah, like he doesn't need to do anything besides be the biggest and baddest athlete. A lot of guys, a lot of athletes out there can pick up a lacrosse stick, not even know how to cradle, and be difference makers in the game as long as they're just like freakishly athletic enough to take up space. Maybe not at like the top of the top level, but it's not like guys can't just like, I don't know, like hockey would be different, like right, like you need a guy who can actually like skate on ice. If you're a good enough athlete, you can take up space and be a difference maker in lacrosse. What Ricky Mizan has, what you mentioned, is being a former number one overall recruit. Like it's not like he's a guy who's going to pick up a stick and doesn't know how to cradle.
Yes.
Like he's going to dominate you on defense, run it down the field, quick little split dodge, stick it top left, run off to the sideline, and you got a face off coming up in a couple seconds. So yeah, I mean, dude, Virginia's going to be loaded. I think Georgetown getting Georgetown picking up Tucker Dordovic. That's going to be one where I think that Georgetown's in a, they're going to have to really show me this year, right? I mean, you can't be the second seed going into the tournament last year, lose to Delaware, and then have me be like, oh yeah, you guys are definitely going to the Final Four this year. They have that potential, but they're going to have to show me. But I think Dordovic will probably help out with that. Trying to think of any other ones. I mean, obviously Georgetown, they lose Dylan Watson, and then he goes down to Jacksonville.
I think with Georgetown though, like what you said, just to go off what your point, like I don't want to say it's like a make it or break it year, but I feel like it's a huge, dare I say, huge year for recruits in a way. I don't know if this is a bad take, but like if they show that they're frauds again, they're a top 5 team that's fraudulent. Like, what does that really say about the state of the program? Like, you need to break through eventually, or you're just stuck in purgatory. So I think that this is a year that Georgetown really needs to step up. They have all the talent in the world to get to the championship weekend. And I think that if they don't get there, what does it really say about the past 3 years?
Yeah. And I would agree with that, but I think that it's more for a fan perspective. I don't know if,
well, that's all I have.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's why we have, this is why me and you are like, the thing that's great about our podcast is we just shit take and shit post, and we have a fan's perspective. Like, yeah, like this is just what I think. Like when I say that, like if they don't make championship weekend, Jordie, I'm putting Kevin Warren's ass firmly on the hot seat.
I think from a fan's perspective, he would deserve to have it on that hot seat. I don't think that they'll ever have trouble with recruiting just because it's a 6 school and it's all this and that. And like, if you're making it like into the tournament every year, like you're going to be fine. But I do think from a fan perspective though, it would be hard to knock the fraud label. And like, that's one where like I'm
sticks. It's a sticky note.
It sticks, and it sticks hard. I found that out with, I still refuse to give Rutgers credit, and they made it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So
yeah, true. But that's a great point. Like they have to be that, like Rutgers broke through, and I won't talk shit about them this year, or maybe I will. But I just think that Georgetown has to break through. But it's a team that like in the transfer portal and just like who they have, like the Petramala, but UNC I'm intrigued.
Just for Sean Goldsmith,
Harry Welford, I think he's a great player from Bucknell. He used to be like an Under Armour All-American, and I think that now he's going to be in the ACC. I think he obviously has talent to play in the ACC, being a former All-American. And then like they bring back the LSM. I was trying to look for his name. I think like Paul Barton. who I fell in love with last year during UNC's like little shitty season. But I think Logan McGovern from Bryant, who I watched a lot last year, stud. So I think that UNC is an intriguing team. And then they have Geppert from Brown, who Brown was the Cinderella-ish team, I guess you want to say last year. But yeah, definitely some intriguing teams. And then speaking of like football, like Maryland doesn't rebuild, they reload, and obviously they're going to be like the number one team from or them or Virginia. They're one or two right now, I think, depending on who you talk to. But they had the football player.
Yeah, I forget his name.
I want to say it's like Dante Haller or something. Maryland. And you look up like Maryland and the word Dante Trader Jr. And I was going to say, you look up like Maryland football lacrosse player, and then all of a sudden it's just like Jared Bernhardt scored a touchdown in a preseason game before. Like it's just like, impossible to find. But yeah, I heard from things I've seen online about this guy, he's going to make an immediate impact. Not like just he's not a football player. Like he probably will be top 2 short stick D mini for Maryland.
Yeah, I mean SSD mid university right there.
Literally.
Trying to think if there's one other, because I never give enough shine to the defensive side of the ball, and I probably won't give any more shine to the defensive side of the ball for at least a few more weeks. But one other transfer that's gonna make a big impact, and like you're gonna need this guy if you're gonna try to compete with the Marylands in the Big Ten. But Marcus Hudgens going from Army over to Ohio State. I think that like I would love if Ohio State is just like, I feel like they've kind of been this, but like I just want them to be, I want them to be basically like a football lacrosse team, like just a team that you don't want to meet up against in the trenches, a team that's just going to beat your ass physically all up and down the field. And I think that having a pole like Marcus Hudgens out there will help them. They have to be a little bit more blue collar in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you got like I think that they're gonna have one of probably the best defenses in the country with him and Bobby Van Buren, who I think are probably both going to be on the All-American list in some capacity. So I think that Ohio State, I mean, they were good last year. I don't think they should have made the tournament necessarily. I still think give it to Notre Dame instead. But I mean, can't say that Ohio State didn't earn it. They beat Notre Dame. So shout out to the Buckeyes, and like no reason why they shouldn't do it again.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I mean, busy movement in the transfer portal over the off season. I mean, even entire teams were moving around. A lot of conference realignments. We've got the A10 conference this year. A lot of movement in the A Sun. Trying to think about like what else I would have missed there. Yeah.
And then you want to talk about the retirement news?
Yeah. So Bill Tierney just pulling a Derek Jeter here, getting his farewell tour. Tell you what, greasy move by Bill. Greasy move by Bill. I think that he is an absolute legend of the game. Just one of the all-time coaches that we've ever seen. The work that he did to build up the Princeton program, the work that he's done to build up the Denver program, all of it makes Bill Tierney a legend. But announcing that he's retiring before the season, greasy move, just because you know that every team's going to feel bad about beating him this year.
Yeah, it was a surprising move considering who he kind of is and like his personality type, that I didn't really expect him to. I mean, I don't take it this way, so I'm not saying this. Like it's kind of a if anybody else did, I'd be like, it's a look at me move. Like I hate farewell tours. I hate when people announce farewell tours. It doesn't feel like a farewell tour in this regard. He's like a coach, so it's a little different. And like maybe he's giving like recruits, players updates that like Matt Brown's going to take over the situation. But I did find it a little bit like off character for him. I just thought he would just kind of like go out on his own dime.
So I don't think it's I don't think it's a look at me. I think it's a he sees the way that the Big East is going and that Georgetown runs the Big East, and he needs to do something special to make sure that Denver can win the conference for the last time so that he can get in one more tournament run in. And he's like, listen here, like Kevin Warren, this is my last time. This is my last show here. Like, move aside, let me get into the tournament. Little, I don't know. But either way, I think it will be interesting to see what happens with the Denver program after this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that much will change. I think that, you know, Denver's an established name because Bill Tierney has I mean, they're national champions. I don't think that they'll ever have any issue with getting recruits from out west, and I think that the game's only growing out there. So I think that they'll be fine. I'm just trying to I don't know. I just guess in the last few years they just haven't.
Well, do you remember that heartbreaker? That heartbreaker, like the Jack Hanna
against Loyola.
That was one of the best lacrosse. I think that still might be the best lacrosse game I've ever watched.
I mean, that game right there is probably the reason why Bill Tierney doesn't have a few more years left in the tank. The amount that he was getting after the refs in that game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. How many college refs do you think are just counting down the days right now until the Denver season ends, and they don't have to worry about getting ripped apart by Bill on the sidelines?
I think we got to put Matty P. I was asking you before. I think Matty P. I think I'm like 95. I'm a little rusty. I'm 95% certain he refs college lacrosse because I know he does college basketball and college lacrosse. I'm like, but I don't know if it's like now the PLL is paying him.
Does he do college basketball?
I think so. Yeah. So like I think a lot of the refs like low key do. But the thing with Matty P is he started getting a little bit of FaceTime in the PLL. He's like one of the like main attractions. He's got his jerseys. He's becoming somebody other than just a ref. So maybe he's going a little Hollywood on us. Maybe he's stepping back from the NCAA refing. I don't know. I'm not saying that, but something to look out for this year.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's got to do a couple, at least just to stay in shape, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be huffing and puffing around out there. But yeah, I mean, listen, we're joking a little bit with the greasy move. I mean, Bill Tierney is an absolute legend of the game. You know, it will be weird having years where, I mean, it happens eventually to everybody where everyone retires. Tom Brady retired today, by the way. So that'll change in like a couple weeks. But I mean, it's just one of those times where you didn't ever really think about what a Denver team without Bill Tierney would look like. So now we just have to start thinking about that a little bit. But it would be nice to see Denver have, you know, one more great season here with Bill on the sidelines. Might be a little bit tougher without having a guy like Alex Simmons, because going back to the transfer news, he's now at Syracuse. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how other teams handle it. Is it going to be like a Jeter thing where, you know, teams?
Well, Coach K.
Yeah.
It's a Coach K thing, and that's the perfect. But Coach K is so hateable, and Coach Tierney is so likable. Like, I don't know. That's just maybe a me thing. I really don't like Coach K. But I don't think that, like, I don't know. I could definitely imagine they do like the reverse Denver, where Denver always used to win the regular season conference and then get another Big East team in. Maybe Denver doesn't win the Big East conference, but they win the tournament. Gets in that way.
I could see it. I actually can't see it. I can't see really anybody beating Maryland or Virginia, but
no, not the tournament, the Big East tournament.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's really, listen, get a Big East tournament win for Bill Tierney would be huge, because considering how legendary of a coach he is, I don't think he has many of those. Well, I'll tell you what, I'd be excited to see Denver have themselves a nice, successful season. But, you know, just thinking about, listen, we've got an entire year of college lacrosse laid out ahead of us, right? We've got February, March, April, May. We've got 4 full months of college lacrosse. It's all ahead of us right now. First games get going this Saturday. We've got a couple hundred games to watch. anything in your mind, Doogs, that you're the most excited to see this year, whether it's, a team, a surprise team making a lot of noise, a player just making college lacrosse his bitch, anything that's got you jazzed up for the 2023 season?
So I have 3 to 4 teams that I think are going to surprise people this year. That are just like buy. No, I'm not going to say buy low, because these teams. I'm going to say the names. You're going to be like, "Fuck you." This is a low team. Duke. I think people just have forgotten about Duke. I think that Duke could have made a run last year if they just had gotten to the tournament. They were that talented. I think Brennan O'Neill is going to slap his dick onto the table and probably win the Touraton award. I don't think he's the best. I think Schellenberg's the best player in the college lacrosse. I think Pat Kavanaugh's the most exciting. When you talk about someone that's on Team fucking USA, Brennan O'Neill is going to show out this year.
People wrote off Duke, but Duke ain't right back yet.
Do you know what I'm saying then when I'm talking about they're going to be like the sixth, probably like the sixth team in the country. But
I mean, yeah, but they didn't make the tournament last year,
yeah.
And like I just said, I don't see anybody beating Maryland or Virginia, and it's like realistically Duke belongs in that conversation. Now we're going to have a totally different conversation about that over the next week or so, because I think over the first 3 games they have High Point and Jacksonville scheduled. You know that they're going to lose one of those.
Totally going to lose one of those. But then we're going to sit back and we're going to be like, said last year, like, oh, they'll come along, and then they lost a couple more. I don't think that's going to happen this year. But the second team I think I'm very excited for, that I think you'll agree with, is St. Joe's. Return basically everybody. They got that. Levi, the attackman?
Levi Anderson,
fucking tank. They have one of the better defenses returning. I think
Zach Cole's
one of the best face-off guys in the country. So yeah, I think what St. Joe's returns and how good they were last year, basically losing in overtime in the first round.
I forget. Was that an overtime? I know that it was tied at halftime with Yale.
Yale.
Yeah, that was the Yale game. They were either tied or up by 1 at halftime. It ended up being a close game.
Yeah, so I think that they're a team to watch out for. All right, my next is two Ivy League teams to watch out for. Like, who could be the next? Who could be the Brown? Who's going to be? Because I think everyone right now is kind of talking Cornell, Princeton, right? As like the top. No, that's not where I'm going with. I'm going back to my Harvard boys. The team that was full of freshmen last year. I think they're going to win the Ivy League this year. I think that Burns going to get his shit together, stealing recruits left and right. Something's going on in Cambridge. Something's cooking up there. And I think that this is going to be a breakout year for the boys in Crimson. Next.
I don't disagree. I might have disagreed a little bit with you last year, but they proved themselves last year. So I'm with you on that.
Next, I think that this Yale team might be, talent-wise, one of the most talented teams I've ever had. When you're talking about it from a pure recruiting 24/7 perspective, the talent on this team is absurd. You got Brando coming back, who you could have made the argument should have won the Touraton last year. Thomas Bragg. You got Paquette in goal. I think that this is a phenomenal team top and down, and I don't think that losing Tevlin and Fake is going to hurt this team too much.
Is this Brandau for Tui? Is this the year?
No. Look. I mean, who? So I said my take. I think that if I had to say it right now, I'm saying Schellenberg. I think is I've said this in past years. I said this when he was a freshman. If I had the number 1 pick in the PLL draft 2 years ago, I would have taken Shelley. But if you're telling me who's going to win the Touraton this year, I'm saying Brendan O'Neill, because I think that he's going to potentially have Duke in the top 2, surpassing either Maryland or Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, I see them all as finalists. I think realistically, the Touraton is mostly decided by championship weekend, and I think that will be Shelley getting it done. But no, I mean, all 4 teams there, good picks by you. I don't really have anything against any of them.
That's good.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go what I think is chalk right now with this answer of what I'm most excited for. And it's just because I don't remember having a recruit come in with this much hype and this much expectation to completely revitalize a historic program. I'm pumped to see what Joey Spallina can do at Syracuse. Again, it's a pretty obvious answer here, but I mean, think about like when's the last time that Syracuse has had a 22 who was truly deserving of the number?
I don't want to forget anybody. The first that comes to mind when I think most recent 22s, maybe JoJo Marasco.
Yeah, but true, like
Didn't he even do a championship weekend? I mean, because are you thinking like the Powells and everything?
yeah, like I think that it's that number. Like who's like again, and this is the thing. We don't know if Joey Spallina is or not. Right? Joey
Chase
Spallina has
Scanlon? No, I'm kidding. So fucked up. That was a bad joke. Bad joke. Bad joke. Guys.
I was
I'm going time out. I'm in the
listen,
box. I'm going to the box. I'm going to the box.
I was thinking about making it. I'm glad that you're the
No,
one
no,
that made
no.
it.
Yeah, I had to make it for the record so I don't get canceled because I know someone's going to try to cancel my ass. Bad guy. He's a bad human being. I denounce everything he's done. The joke was just hanging there. Everyone was thinking it. Everyone was like, "Who was the last 22?" And like just that awkward little between our voices and the listeners' ears, there was that awkward like, "Oh, it was right there." Like we're all trying to think of 22s, and everyone just thought of him.
It was either that or the Jordan Evans, which by the way, Jordan Evans wasn't that bad.
No,
I think
no.
if Jordan Evans wore like number 7 at Syracuse, people would think that Jordan Evans was great. But that's the thing, is that he wasn't wearing 7, he was wearing 22. And so again, Joey Spallina has never played a game of college lacrosse in his life. He'll play one this weekend as the Vermont Catamounts make their way to the Dome, and that'll start the career of Joey Spallina. And I'm just, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if he's half as good as the hype and expectation would have you believe, I think that he is deserving of the 22. Like that's how much hype and expectation this kid has had. And we got a little bit of it with like Brennan O'Neill coming in. Like I think like everyone was like, somehow I think that this is way more. And
Well,
maybe that's because, well, yeah, so he has the name, but also like Brennan O'Neill coming in to Duke, like Duke didn't need a savior at that.
I agree. That's a great take. Great take.
Like Syracuse won 4 games last year. They had people leaving for the transfer portal left and right. Now, granted, they brought a lot of people back in from the transfer portal, like an Alex Simmons, and like a why am I blanking? Picked up one more good. Cole Kurse from Lehigh.
Yes.
You know, and then they bring in a really good freshman class, and like
got the goalie. Yeah.
Like Syracuse is in a position where they need to be back. Like Duke just never left. So
it's a great point. I think that if a guy like Brennan O'Neill was in Joey Spallina's year and he chose to go to Syracuse, it would be the biggest deal of all time. Given that he was like the LeBron James recruit sort of way, like I think Brennan was probably a more prolific recruit than Joey was. But I mean, Joey was like 3 years younger than Brennan, playing on the same travel team. So the dude's been held to a high standard his entire life. I'm looking at the past 22s, by the way. So you have, do you want me to go since like 2000? So you had Mikey Powell, Dan Hardy, Cody Jamieson, JoJo Marasco, Jordan Evans, Scanlon. Then you have, obviously, Spallina.
Yeah. So I would say that Cody Jamieson, what did he wear? I think he only wore it for the 1 year, maybe 2 years.
He did when they won the national title.
Yeah. Right? So I mean, that's deserving of it. I mean, what an all-time game that was. Little between the legs, send that bitch to overtime. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to watch, kind of to go off of what you said earlier. Like I am excited to watch the Ivies beat the shit out of each other again this year. I think that, you know, we'll have Larkin on in a couple of weeks so that he can talk up the Ivies in a way that like actually breaks down some X's and O's. But you know,
talk about the conference. Talk about someone that knows the conference. Like we
Ye-
don't know the ins and outs of every single
oh
team.
yeah,
Where
I just love.
Larkin, yeah, we just like to watch lacrosse in a like fun, like, oh, that guy's pretty good. That guy did something cool. Where Larkin will know exactly where this guy went to high school. Will know the ins and outs of this league. Will give an in-depth. Will teach us something. It's like I'm going to be like bringing in a notepad to that session, writing down
Yeah,
everything he has to say about Harvard.
I never listen back to any of our episodes unless we bring on Larkin, and then I'll listen to what he has to say, and then just fast forward through our questions.
Exactly.
And then the other thing that and this is more in the immediate future, kind of already brought it up, but I am excited to see which team ends up beating Duke in February. So
Gotcha.
I believe High Point has the first crack at it. That'll be coming up, I believe, in the middle of next week, and then maybe Jacksonville might have them on a weekend, or maybe they're both weekday games. Either way, I think High Point gets the first crack, and then Jacksonville. So one of those teams are going to take down Duke, and then everyone's going to freak out, and then Duke will rattle off 8 wins to close out the season and be in the tournament again. Yeah. So listen, there's a lot of lacrosse to be looking forward to right now. I will admit that personally speaking, my heart and my sights aren't solely focused on college lacrosse right now. Dukes, I know you also have college basketball going on, but with the Eagles in the Super Bowl, like there's not much more that my heart can be excited about right now than 2 Sundays from now. So
If we could tie in lacrosse with the Eagles, I'll say like Michael Sowers could have an all-time year when you're going from the Water Dogs to, I mean, the Phillies didn't make it, but you're talking about the Phillies making the improbable World Series run, and then you got the Eagles playing in the Super Bowl. Hell of a year to be a Sowers.
big time year to be Sowers. I mean, dude, what? Well, I don't even know where I was going to go with that one.
Congrats on making the Super Bowl, Jordie. I'll just say that. I'll put your thought in your brain.
Yeah.
Eagles are in the Super Bowl. That's all you got to know.
Yeah. So big time to be around in Philly. I'm sure that if you see Matt Rambo running through Broad Street in a couple Sundays from now, no, you didn't. Yeah. So listen, we've got how many games do we have on deck for this weekend? We've got an entire slate, and I'll be honest, a few of them, some really good games. We've got. Don't be surprised if Duke Bellarmine ends up being a game. I know that I'm shitting on Duke early, but it's February Duke. I mean, Army St. Joe's, I feel like, is probably going to be the best game of the weekend. I mean, Cuse Vermont, there could be a little.
Did you see that? Did you see that?
So what? Yeah, what had
the Vermont? Yes, they posted. I think it might have been McConvey ripping a goal, which was a sick goal, and like maybe the coolest shot that ever got scored on a Syracuse goalie of all time. It was just probably the best shot of all time on a Syracuse goalie. It was so nice. It was on our friend.
I can't.
The guy, the goalie wore number 33. Long hair, pretty swaggy. I can't think of the Syracuse goalie. He's a nobody. But Drake Porter, right. But they Vermont's social team posted that goal, and then it was like they lost the game. They're like last time.
I can't think of a better goal to ever be scored
on a Syracuse goalie. I'm trying to think of like a small school like UMBC scoring a goal on them, but I can't think of anyone that comes to mind. No. But it was weird because they're like last time we were in the dome. It was like last time we were in the dome, we lost 18-12. What do you mean? Last time in the dome? So I thought that was weird.
Which isn't necessarily. It's not the worst that you could lose to Syracuse. Now you're going into the dome without McConvey, but I don't know. Let's send some good vibes to Ian McKay's way.
I will.
Former Catamount great. You know what? I do want to, because I just looked at them on the schedule. I do want to go back and say one thing that I'm not excited to see, but I'm interested to see. And I'm interested to hear your answer. Do you think that there is a chance that Johns Hopkins will ever be back?
I really don't. I think there's one person that I think can turn the program around, and he's in the program right now. I think that John Crowley is you. I think you need to have a hop guy that Blue Jay means something to them, and I'm not so sold on Milliman as a coach or leader in that locker room right now. I think that was kind of a quick hire for them to make. I think that you need to get someone that played at the program to turn the program around. And I think Crowley's there and he can help assist it, but I think that he needs to take that next step and be that guy. I think he's one of the best offensive assistant coaches in the country. But I think he could be a guy that could take them there. But no, I don't think right now if Milliman's direction. Do you think that they could ever get back?
I don't think so. Because I think that it's been so long at this point. Like you're always gonna get those Baltimore kids, right?
Yeah.
But like, what's the draw to Hopkins if you're not from Baltimore?
The gear.
And like, yeah, the gear's pretty sweet.
The education.
But like, there are so many other places within college lacrosse where you can get a just as good education.
I agree. I mean, there's just definitely a draw to like the history, the Homewood, the band. So there's something cool about it from like a lacrosse perspective. Like if you're like
but I'm saying that I think it's been so long at this point that I don't know if like the history the history is like withstanding that, you know. I think
they need a Joey Spallina. The transfer portal too can help them out. I mean, you never know. Guys,
you know what
playing time to leave.
You know what they need? They need someone like a Hopkins legend. And unfortunately, the two of them are going to UNC. They need a Hopkins legend who has college-aged kids or at least high school-aged kids who are just nasty lacrosse players, and
from
then
Baltimore,
or from Baltimore or from wherever, but like they commit to Hopkins because their dad played there, and now they kind of missed the boat there with the Petromalas.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a game that I'm just looking at right now that I think is going to be good. I think Maryland Richmond is intriguing, giving Richmond success last year. Maryland, obviously they lost pieces, but like I said, they just rebuild. But like, I don't think that's a game you can really sleep on if you're Maryland.
Correct me if I'm, but are those not always tight? Like what was? I feel like that was a tight one last year, right?
Richmond beat Virginia last year.
Richmond beat Virginia last year. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Yeah, I mean, dude, Richmond, they're a team that plays tough. It's going to be first game of the season, so they're going to have plenty of juice heading into that one. Maryland, could they have a little championship hangover still coming through? Where, I mean, listen, when's the last time that they've lost a lacrosse game? It's been
the national championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, so like 700 some days ago, I guess. So, you know, at some point you would think that maybe that hunger kind of goes away a little bit, and a team like Richmond, who has beaten teams like, you know, elite teams before. Yeah, I think that's a good one as well. But yeah, I think
tough to talk about week one too. It's tough to talk about week one because again, we would need probably like Ty Sanders to help break us down, like exactly who is the recruits that are coming in. And like we don't really know much about these teams. It's not like I'm going to or you're going to these private scrimmages and like seeing how. But I will say one thing. I'm talking about private scrimmages came into my brain. I heard Duke fucking trounced Maryland.
I also saw Maryland like trounce Cornell in the fall. So
yeah, I saw that too. I think all connected.
Yeah, definitely tough to talk about week one though. I think a lot of these teams, they're going to show you something in week one. You're going to say to yourselves, wow, this looks like the best team in the country. And then next week, they're going to look like dog shit. A lot of teams could look like dog shit in week one. And then all of a sudden they rattle off a whole bunch of wins. So listen, I'm excited for the hot takes though. A lot of takes are going to get thrown around on week one. And you just got to kind of strap yourself in and you got to ride with them the rest of the season. Let's just say if I don't know. Maybe Utah comes out and beats Denver in week 1. I'm riding Utah all the way to championship
Oh
weekend.
yeah.
So, you know what's going to be my favorite game for some hot takes out of this week 1 schedule?
What?
Penn State and Lafayette. I think with the season that Penn State just had last year, this is a big you win this game, Penn State's back, right? Last year was just a what is that word? An aberration?
You just asked like one of the dumbest guys you know what aberration means.
I feel like you have like
A wash. I call it a wash.
Okay.
Last season's a wash. Like you forget about it. It's a wash.
Yeah. I feel like you have that weird vocabulary though, where you might know a few really good words.
I do know some good words. I always bring a few out. I'm trying to think of the word right now.
What's the best word you know?
What? Oh, jargon. I bring out some good jargon.
Okay. That's good. That's good. But I feel like, Penn State, you win this game big against Lafayette, and we can say that last year was a wash. It was, you guys were dealing with a lot of injury issues and yada, yada, yada. You lose this game to Lafayette, Penn State is dead as a program forever, for eternity. Fire Tambo.
That's what I was going to say. Is Tambo – so, okay, let me say something then. Let me say something. You were – I was like Warren's on the hot seat if they have another disappointing season. But – or not disappointing, just like what was the word I said? Fraud. If they're frauds again. Okay. Penn State had one bad year after they made the freaking Final Four and had COVID canceled, and you were like, Tambo's on the hot seat. Kevin Warren, it's not that crazy to say it, right? Think about where I'm coming from now. Jordie, think about he hasn't made a Final Four. Kevin Warren.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just saying.
I forgot that they lost that game. They got trounced in the quarterfinals. I forgot that wasn't a Final Four game for a second. Yeah, but they didn't just pour in so much money into your own facility. Penn State has that entire lacrosse facility. I don't know.
Okay. No, I'm just saying.
Now here's the thing. I'm willing to say you win this game against Lafayette by 5. I'm willing to give Tambroni a 3-year extension at the very least.
All right.
After I think that's going to be my hot take game of the week.
I can't wait for the when we have the overreaction, underreaction next week.
Yeah.
That's always going to be good. I just can't wait to overreact to week 1 results. That's one of my favorite things.
I think when Vegas is capping this game, they need to have a line that they think that the actual game will be, but they need an alternate line of where Tambroni's seat will cool off a little bit. I think
we should do that.
I think Penn State in this game should be -5.5, but I think in order for Tambroni's seat to cool down a little bit, it's got to be minus 7, 8.5.
Me and you get asked all the time, hey, love the podcast. It's it's our favorite top 100 podcast, college lacrosse podcast out there, blah, blah, blah. Is there anything we can do to help? I'll tell you right now, if you're listening to this, it means you're a true hard crease diver. If you want to help make us the graphic where it shows how hot Tambroni's seat is, one of those that we could tweet out after every Penn State game, that's how we could use help. I need a Tambroni, you know what I'm talking about, the meter?
Yep.
And it's how hot is his seat?
The meter right now, I still feel has melted off. Now, I know that I might be a little bit harder on the guy, but I feel like
did he is this go back to was he ever a Division III lacrosse coach recruiting you or something?
No, it's just something about him. Just something about him.
This is something personal. This is crazy.
No, but it's one of those things where I dug my heels in, and now I'm gonna just.
No, I agree. I mean, this is me saying Maryland sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of my worst takes.
All right. Well, either way, great opening week of games on deck for Saturday. So things get going 11:30 a.m. with Bucknell and Mercer. Shout out to I want a big season coming up here from Mercer with Ryan Dennehy, good friend of the program, taking over things with the Bears over there. But the day goes all the way through 7 p.m. with Jacksonville and Hopkins getting themselves going. So big Saturday on deck. Listen, before we get out of here, let's just go ahead. we're not going to give you our top 20 team, although maybe you could combine our top 10s and make however many teams end up coming out of there into a top 20. I feel like top 20 is always a little too much. I feel like there's never even 20 really good teams in college lacrosse anyway. There's
I
usually
agree.
about 14, 15 really good teams. Once you get into 20, now you're talking about teams who have lost like 5 games in the season. So we're gonna give you our top 10s heading into the 2023 lacrosse season. Doogs, do you want to start or should I?
You know what, Jordie, you.
All right. Well, I will say right now, I put out a tweet maybe a week or two ago saying that my votes, my media votes that I absolutely get for for all the polls are very much up for sale. If you want me to have your team in my rankings, all you have to do, we talked about it at the very beginning of the episode. I'm a gear hound. I'm a gear slut. All you have to do is just send me some gear from your school and I will lock your team into my top 10. So listen, there might be some surprises in here, but I believe in these teams and I'll put my whole faith and heart into these teams. So let's get in right now into Jordie's top 10. Think about the best way to do it. I'm going to go 1 to 10. I'm not going to hold you on and make you wait for the number 1 team.
1 to 10. 1 to 10. Nice guys.
Number 1 team, Team USA. I know that they're not technically a college team, but listen, I love America, and this is a podcast that is very patriotic. Listen, I'm proud to be an American, and there's never going to be any team that's more important than Team USA. Coming up at number 2. Feel like we were pretty harsh on them so far this episode. I'm going with Georgetown at number 2. It's hard to say. It's shocking to say after the way that we've kind of treated them a little bit on this episode. But listen, good friend of the program, Jack Rowlett, doing a lot of really good things over there at that program. They've got some great gear. Go ahead.
Can I just say something about Jack Rowlett? When we're talking about, they have great gear. They have great gear.
A great guy.
The best guy, for real, the best guy. But what he's doing to his old university is fucking bullshit. He's just taking all the UNC guys and being like, you guys should come transfer to Georgetown. Have you seen this? They got the Kelly kid, and then they got Solomon who coming from UNC. And I forgot, I feel like then last year they had Will Bowen come over. So I would like to I'd like to put on my glasses and look into what's going on with Jack Rowlett, just poaching kids from UNC. But just
I think you need to put on your glasses and look at what's not happening at UNC. It seems like if UNC should probably
is Brescia on the hot seat?
I don't know, but you might got to give Jack Rowlett the bag. Either way, until that happens, I've got Georgetown number 2. Number 3, the Brown State Bears. Had a great season last year. I don't want to upset Larkin when he comes onto the podcast at some point in the next couple weeks. People's goalie. So the Brown Bears, I think, really strong program. Only going to get better from there. Number 4, we're going to stay up in up in the Northeast there. The Merrimack. Roll Mac, the Merrimack Warriors, coming over from, after, they've been D1 for a couple years now, but dude, just watching Merrimack shit kick teams in the D2 national title game a couple years in a row. Always had some good memories of Merrimack. Charlie Bertrand, also some really good gear. Also Merrimack, they finally decided to recruit a Philly kid. So you've got a face-off kid.
Who from Springfield is playing at Merrimack?
Well, so here's the thing. Family is originally from Springfield, but they went to private school, so we can't claim them.
Which one?
Well, his name Jake McCarthy, Haverford school kid at Merrimack. Younger brother Ben McCarthy is like the number 2 or 3 recruit in high school right now, committed to Duke, but Duke didn't send me shit, so Duke is not in my top 10. Number 5. The Delaware State Hornets. Now, for anyone here who is unfamiliar with the Delaware State Hornets, they play in the NCL. So the NCL was found. The NCL was founded last year. It's so you've got 6 HBCU colleges and
Fuck
universities,
me.
and so they've been putting together some teams and playing Olympic style lacrosse. The Delaware State Hornets, they won the tournament last year. I'm a huge Hornets fan, and I think that they are deserving of the 5th best team in the country. Number 6, Dukes. This one might ruffle your feathers a little bit. We're going over to the MCLA.
Don't say.
Yeah, it might not be a team that you fully hate, but I'm going Florida State
That's fine.
Seminoles, baby. Florida State, best team in the MCLA, and the best, the 6th best team in the country. Don't look at me like that. I said
No,
what I
it's
said.
fine. It's fine. Dayton just continues to get fucked by the MCLA.
Yeah, well, Florida State, listen, I saw some rankings in the MCLA. They didn't even have Florida State in the top 20. I want everyone that's associated with that to know that they are idiots because Florida State is out for blood this year. And the Seminoles going to have a big year. Number 7, just mentioned them briefly, but Springfield High School. We've got our spring season coming up in about a month here. We've had some really good winter practices. So the Springfield High School Cougars, home of Barstool Jordie. Number 8, going with Maryland. Pretty successful program. They've had a couple of really good years. Number 9, Virginia, and number 10. Just mentioned them before. I don't want this to get mixed up with the Mercer Hive with the meme, but I do want Mercer in my top 10 because Ryan Dennehy, great guy, great coach, all-time human. So there's my top 10.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn, Dukes.
All right, here we go. Okay, so number 1, I am going Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish, of course. It's the Irish year. It's the Irish's year again. But seriously, I do.
Can I just say I wouldn't hate it.
I know. I actually think
I know that I fight you sometimes on your Notre Dame loyalty and bias, but I wouldn't hate it this year. I do want to see Pat Cav get one.
And let me just say this: if I was so high on them last year, why would I just not put them number 1 this year? Do I think that there's more talented teams there, like Virginia and Maryland, for sure? But the most talented team doesn't always win. And I think that if you're talking about dethroning Maryland, I think that Notre Dame was the closest team last year. It was like 13-11, winning in the 4th quarter. So like Notre Dame is a legitimate team to watch out for. All right. Number 2, any team that gives me gear, just like Jordie. I am a gear slut. I will take any team that will give me gear. Number 3, Matt Palin. Matt Palin, the face of the PLL, one of my favorite human beings ever. I want to hang out with him and grab a beer so fucking bad. He doesn't know who I am, but if he just knew the ounce of courage that he gave me and the spirit that he enthralls into my heart for the game of lacrosse, it's amazing what that man has done to me. And he doesn't even know. He's my hero. Number 4, going Virginia. I love Virginia. I love Shelley, Griffin Schutz, Ricky Meason, and then like you got Xander Dixon. Virginia is the real deal. Virginia is the real deal. Number 5, going Duke. Like I said, I think that McAdory, Brandon O'Neill, they're just gonna Tyson Williams, they're gonna get it done. All right, number 6, Team Canada in 6s.
Oh, okay.
So I love the red, white, and blue more than anybody. But I got cucked by putting that number 1, so I couldn't be a Steeler. But I mean, who's gonna be Team Canada in 6s? The 5 people in front of them. Number 7, I have Joey Spallina. I'm not so sure how Syracuse is going to be, but Joey Spallina will be pretty good. Number 8.
Can I just mention something real quick? I do want to mention that Joey Spallina can't have an elite freshman year unless Syracuse gets rid of those helmets that they've been wearing. I was under the impression that those helmets that they wore for fall ball were like almost a joke, like an accident that they got sent those. They need to do something about that. I need Joey Spallina wearing something significantly swaggier than a matte navy helmet with a gray chin strap. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And then number 8, I have Maryland. Enough said. Number 9, I have St. Joe's. the Hawks, 8-10 team, and then number 10 I have Harvard. That's my top 10.
All right. What about a Final Four prediction for college basketball?
College basketball, I got Dayton, I got Houston, I got Purdue. It's gonna be one sleeper team, I feel like, but Houston, Purdue. I can't even think right now. I was thinking immediately Lacrosse, UCLA.
All right. And Eagles 35. Eagles 35. Chiefs 27.
Yeah, I like the Eagles. All right.
All right. Well, that wraps up week 1. Enjoy it. Figure out. I don't even know what games are on TV and not, but enjoy it.
Go to Inside Lacrosse and do it yourself, you lazy bums. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I love you guys. Thank you for listening.
Love you guys. Keep it low to high till the day we die. We out.